Good Wednesday evening, listeners, and welcome to another edition of Conversations of a Sister here on YouTube. I thank you for those who may be tuning in tonight for tonight's conversation. And tonight's conversation is about an email that I received from one of my conversationers, my blog followers, readers. I appreciate you all. I appreciate the messages that I receive. A lot of you were asking, where's my show been? And a lot of times I'm just not able to do the show because life is lifing. So, things go on, things happen, and I'm just not communicating as much. I apologize for that. And I promise to do better. I did receive an email from one of my readers and listeners, as I stated, and she had asked me a question. And I thought about the question and I decided to address that particular question tonight. Now, a lot of my listeners and readers are they're young women, they're young girls. And I understand that. So some of the questions that they ask me, it's almost like I have to think about it, in order to understand what it is that is being asked of me. So apparently there is this rift in the media, on social media, online with a rapper by the name of Remy Ma, who was married to somebody named Papoose. Now, when I hear these names via email, when this is what's mentioned to me, it's almost like I have to go look it up and find it for myself in order to understand it. So I know I've heard the name Remy Ma, and I'm sorry to admit that sometimes I've gotten her mixed up with Fox Brown. I don't know, but I know that she's a rapper. Her real name is Reminisce Mackey. I had to look it up. She's an American rapper and songwriter who rose to fame in the late 1990s. She was a member of Fat Joe's hip hop group Terror Squad, and she was discovered by Big Pun. I know that she was arrested. She went to jail. I only know that based upon some of the things, again, that I have been reading online. Nevertheless, she and her husband, Papoose, I think I'm saying his name right, Papoose, um, they are in the middle of a divorce battle and they are battling it out online. They're talking about it online, but I think that the reason why there's so much talk about it is because her husband, Papoose, I don't know if I'm saying his name right. I'm sure that somebody will correct me if I'm not. But her husband, Papoose, who's also a rapper, I think, uh, he is dating a boxer, a young boxer by the name of Clarissa Shields. And ever since he's been dating Clarissa Shields, it's like been all the talk online. I think Clarissa Shields is in her 30s. She's a heavyweight champion and she's dating Remy Ma's husband, Papoose. Now, I guess the reason why there's drama surrounding it is because their drama is airing out online. He's talking about her, she's talking about him, and they are revealing things that went on in the marriage that led up to this point. And I guess the point is that this Clarissa Shields had been stepping out with Papoose. And I think that people really didn't know that him and Remy were separated. So because he's been stepping out with Clarissa Shields, it became the talk, and now it's like the drama is being played out throughout social media. I think it's quite tacky, but this is what they do, I guess, when they have a following. I don't think it's ever okay to air personal business online. I just don't think that's cool at all. I remember when my niece was going through her divorce or her separation, and her husband had cheated on her, and she had put all this stuff on Facebook, all this stuff on social media, and it quite frankly pissed me off. And I simply inboxed her and I said, take it down, take it off. You know, people do it for conversation. They want everyone to know, but it does not mean that it's appropriate. When you want to discuss it, when you want to talk about it, you get together with your girlfriends. You have a big powwow, you talk about it, you air it out there. But to air it out online, I just don't think it's appropriate. Now, back to this Clarissa Shields, Remy, and Papoose. The question that this follower of mine or reader of mine asked is that Papoose is separated. And their question to me was, is it okay to date a man who is separated? He's not married, he's separated. He's not with his wife, he's separated. And I noticed that people in these positions go on to talk about, how long they've been separated, how they feel like they're not even married because they're separated. You hear all of these things to justify this separation. So I guess the fans of Remy Ma and Clarissa Shields, uh, they see this as, well, if she's doing it, it's okay to do it. So the question that was asked to me was, is it okay to date a man who's separated? Is it okay? Is it acceptable to date a man that is separated from his wife? They're not living in the same house and they are in the process of a divorce. So the question to me was, is it okay to date a man that's separated? And my answer is simply no, it's not okay. I mean, what are you looking for in this individual if they're separated? Whether it's a man or a woman, what are you looking for? Because someone who is separated, it means that he was married to someone or she was married to someone and now they have separated. However, that does not negate the fact that there's a union there because they are still married and they are still married in the eyesight of God because they're not separated. They're just separated. Even if they are legally separated, it's still not okay because they're separated. Separation is not a divorce. A divorce is a decree that the marriage has ended, that the marriage is over. But a separation is not enough. It's not enough. It's like a waste of time when you're dating someone who is separated. And I went online, I looked at comments to Clarissa that was being made. People were saying that she's gonna feel stupid when they get back together, when he get back together with his wife. You know, Clarissa Shields is a young boxer. She's a young lady. She has a lot going for herself. You know, why she would want to hook her crown to a man with so much baggage is beyond me. I quite frankly think that she can do better. This man has 4 children, I believe, and he has a wife, a soon to be ex wife. She's single, never married, no children, and she's going to hook her crown to a bunch of baggage. I quite frankly know that she can do better. It's just that she has to raise her standards. You have to raise your standards. Even if the person does not have a name, even if the person is not in the limelight, that's okay. They don't have to be. It's not about that. It is about them being on your level with compatibility. And I get it that, this man, this papoose, he supports her, he's encouraging. She needs someone to lean on because she says she has a lot of envy from her family. I get it. But I just don't think to be romantically involved with a married man that's separated is a good look. At the end of the day, he's still married. At the end of the day, he's arguing back and forth on social media with his ex wife. That's the connection there. Because no matter how you look at it, when you are arguing back and forth with someone, that's energy. And if that energy is there, then something is there. That's some type of connection that's there. I know that if I met a man and he told me that he just broke up with someone, or he just separated from someone, and he constantly talked about that someone, that tells me that that energy is still there. And if the energy is still there, so is the heart. The heart is still there. At least I would think so. I would think that the heart is still there. So for that matter, it's like, why would you want to hook your heels to someone who still has energy or unfinished business with someone else? I feel like I'm coming across as dark on this video. And I know that I don't have some lighting on, but I should have some light. So, and it's dusk here where I am. The sun is going down and I don't want to appear to be too dark. Is it ever okay to pursue a relationship with someone who is connected? No, it is not. Because at the end of the day, the person is still connected. The person is still in a committed relationship. Because whether they are divorced or separated, you're still committed. And what can you do with someone who's married? Is it just a fling? Is it just somebody to hang out with? What do you do? Is it someone you pass the time with? Would you really want to hook your heart and your feelings and your time and your emotions with someone who was just separated and still married? Because at the end of the day, they're still connected. You can't do anything with a person who's separated. You can't do anything with them. There's nothing to do with them because they're separated. In the eyesight of God and the law, they are still legally married. Separated does not mean divorce. Separated just means that you are no longer living with or connected to the person that you were once married to. And yet, some people do seek legal separation. And that's fine to seek legal separation. But I think that while you are in the midst of legal separation, you should not be pursuing a relationship because you have not cleared the relationship that you're in. You have not cleared the marriage that you're in. There is still a connection there. Separation doesn't mean anything because there's something you can do, but have fun with the person, hang out with the person, fall in love with the person, give that person your time and your energy. And for what? They're separated. Who's to say that they'll ever be divorced? I get it. I understand companionship. I think that companionship is better when it is between two single individuals because it's less complicated, you know, because it's two single individuals. So we're single. And if we are compatible and we grow to love each other, then we have something to build upon. But you can't build you can't build anything with someone who's connected, whether they're connected emotionally, spiritually, physically, legally. It just can't happen. So my answer is no. I'm surprised that the question was even asked. And the reason why I say that is because, my listeners, my followers, you've been following me for years. And, a lot of you have read my books, you've heard my conversations, you know my stance on many of these topics and subjects, and you still ask me such questions. You should have known that my answer was going to be no. It is never okay to date someone who's separated. I know that people do. And I know that it happens. I just think that it's a relationship that is going nowhere because the person is still married. They're still connected to someone else. And as long as they are connected to someone else, they cannot be fully connected to you. They can't, you know? If I was married and I was separated, I don't think I would even seek a relationship. Why? I'm separated. I'm not divorced. And even after I'm divorced, if I ever got divorced and married, I would have to stay not seeing anyone for years. Healing takes time. And a lot of people don't want to do the work. And it takes work to heal. You can't just jump from relationship to relationship to relationship because all you're doing is transferring baggage. You have to do the work to heal. Now, I don't know Papoose or Papoose and Remy Ma. I don't know these people. I've never followed them. I don't know them, and we don't know them. You're only speculating based upon their online social media fights, but you really don't know. They're giving you insights, but you really don't know. But for me, because they're giving each other that energy, something tells me that something is there. That's what it would tell me. Because if I was dating someone and they were fighting with their soon to be ex wife or the wife that they're separated from, or if I even get an inkling that there's some type of bitterness or, some type of saltiness, I would know that some type of feeling is still there. I'm like, they got to feel something because they're still fighting with them. And that's energy that you're giving that person. I think that when you are in love with someone and you share children with someone, it's just not necessarily easy to get over that individual, especially when you've been through ups and downs and ins and outs. And I think that for the person who is not married and they have maybe somebody that's separated pursuing them, it is their responsibility to encourage that person to heal, even if you do like them, even if you do have feelings for them. I would encourage them to heal and catch me when they're single and unattached. But as long as you are separated, you are still attached. You're attached to the individual that you're separated from. And until there is a divorce decree, you are still married. Is it ever okay to pursue a relationship with someone who's separated? That's a very good thought, and that's a very good question for people who are in it. And as you are considering pursuing a relationship with someone who's separated, you have to be sure that the person who's separated is really interested in pursuing a relationship with you. Because if they were, and if they were serious about it, they would get a divorce. They would be like, I've met someone, I've fallen in love, and I'm just going to divorce that person because I want to be able to move on with someone else. And the only way to move on is to let go. How do you let go? It's by getting a divorce. Okay, I've met someone and now I'm just going to get a divorce because I want to move on. But when you're just separated, nothing's moved on. You're just separated. So that person is not giving you their 100%. They're not. You might have them physically, but you may not have them legally, mentally, spiritually, and soulfully. You want the whole man or woman. You don't want half. It's never okay for me to date someone who's separated. That's the first thing I'll ask when I meet someone. Are you married? Are you connected? You have a fiance? Are you separated? Depending on what they tell me, it depends on how I move. Because I don't have time to waste. And I would not want to waste their time or mine. It's like been there, done that. I don't have time for it anymore. So separation means you are stuck. Divorce means you are willing to grow. So if they're not willing to grow by going all the way from separation to divorce, I say move on. But is it ever okay? In my opinion, no. I thank you for tuning in tonight. Tune in next week for next week's question or conversation. In the meantime, have a great Wednesday and a wonderful evening. Bye.